Alright guys, in today's video we are doing a new tier list. I had last done one of these right before the launch of the Steam version to have it out for the Steam version. However, I didn't know they were going to drop two characters at once. I knew that at least one character would not be included. But today's video is all about all of the stuff that we've got ever since. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new for more content, as well as click that notification bell so you don't miss anything we upload here on the channel. That being said, 80% of viewers are missing out by not being subscribed. So if that is you, this is the place to be for Kaiju number 8 content, I can assure you, and make sure you do stick around. Let me know in the comments down below who are the top 3 characters in whatever order you want, in your opinion, in the game. Now, this is always the nuanced question, because people will either say, oh, these are the 3 best characters in the game, or the 3 best characters for me. Like, for example, maybe you have the old 5-star Hoshina, and he's like your best character in your own account, because you don't have XYZ, right? Like, I can understand that. So let me know which criteria you are using. Also, if you do answer the question, best for you, best in general, let me know. So we have every character represented here until another character gets released. And we're going to go through this relatively quickly. So we do have everyone here. I don't think anybody's missing. If there's like an SR I'm missing or something, please let me know. And in the comments, I will rank them appropriately. But we'll go through this and go from here. So overall, firstly, Gen, still the best plate breaker in the game. Easily SS goes to the top of S tier here, or SS. Easily an S tier character. Excuse me, we don't have an SS on our list, although maybe we should add one. But Gen, still, again, extremely useful at what he is made for, and does solid damage as well, too. So easily there. Hoshina, the best, I guess it's debatable. It's a coin toss between him and Chester. I would say Chester, though. The best specific supporter in the game, because he's the buddy supporter. He does all the different things. Certainly if you have dupes, speed, damage dealt, crit, like there's a lot of things he's applying. Overall, a top-end character that you guys should be prioritizing using. I don't know who this chick is. She's probably an original character that's not in the game yet. KN8, okay, so this is where I'm going to have to say this. If you've been around for a while, quick disclaimer, all of these characters are good to some degree. All of these characters can be useful. Flat out, all these characters can be useful at level 100. Because the single most important thing in this game is not stats, it's not weapons, it's nothing of that. It's none of that. It's character level. Because the way the game is designed, I've shown this before, but the game basically uses a formula to where relative to the enemy's level, if your characters are below that, you're going to get blown up, right? And that changes on like a per level basis. Like the numbers get drastically different, even raising your character level 3 levels closer to the enemies if you were like 10 below, right? It's drastically different. So the most important thing is levels. So with that being said, if your character is level 100 and then you min-max the rest of it, skill levels, etc., you can take any one of these characters in combinations and win any content of the game, I assure you, right? So that being said, they're all good. So Kaiju number 8 is going to be the first character that is going to get placed on here that may potentially garner some sort of question. So I actually am going to place him into A tier. So disclaimers aside, and by the way, I'm not saying he's better or worse than Hoshina. It's not a left to right. It's just all one grouping. Disclaimers aside, the reason why is because firstly, he is a single target character. He has blunt typing, which is solid, and so it allows him to break blunt and physical, but he doesn't have the same utility elsewhere. He's a stat monster. He does have utility in his kit. Don't mishear me. Don't hear what I'm not saying. He has the ability to draw aggro. With a fourth dupe on him, he actually is able to get some sustain in there prior to that 4th dupe. He really does want to have a sustained character like an Esau or something with him, which is not really how you want to build your team ideally, but anyway, moving on. And he can do good damage. He's got that gimmicky combat skill that can do the 99999 delete of a miniature kaiju if they're below 50%. He's got some fun stuff in there. He is a character that also, for better or worse, I've explained why this is good and bad, does not use uniparts or weapons. That is, again, good and bad. It's certainly good for early game as well. So he's going to peak very highly, very early for a lot of players. But ultimately, I really want to drive home. I really want to drive home this one simple concept, right? And this is going to be something that is true for the entirety of my list. If a character exists that is better at a certain thing than X character, and in this case, Kaiju number 8, why would you use Kaiju number 8? For what reason? Seriously, for what reason? Other than you simply don't have the better character, but that I can't factor that into my tier list. But if for example, a character is better, why would you use him? And so that'll be the case here. So purely as a single target DPS that has some utility, I would rather choose a handful of other characters as my DPS character. Reno, Soshiro 10. Like there's a few other characters I could throw in there as well. But he is good. That's the thing. He's good. This other game original chick, not going to get ranked. Esau. I like Esau a lot. You see him in a lot of my videos. I like Esau a lot. But I mainly like, here's the deal. You don't need his survivability if your characters are leveled up. That's the thing. You may every now and again, because of other min-maxing you could do, better uniparts, better skill levels, better weapon level, etc. Maybe you don't need dupes for anything, but maybe you have more dupes in there. You may every now and again run into a situation where you can clear the content, like I was saying earlier, but maybe your characters are getting really pressured. And again, if they're level 100, then that's a whole different thing. But they'll probably take a few hundred damage. If they're consistently targeted, then Esau can help you with that, right? But I mainly like him for the damage dealt bonus. That is the best buff you can get in the game. He offers that if everyone has shields, 20% of it. That's pretty nice. But that being said, because of the nature of where things are, I can't, in good faith, rank him any higher. Certainly also because, like I was just explaining, if I think there's another character that fulfills that role better, which could be a little subjective in this specific debate between these two characters, I can't put him in good faith any higher. So I guess we'll just jump the list and put the next character in as an example. Sagon is going into S tier for a few different reasons. Esau is better than Sagon at the specific trait of keeping allies alive. Like, a really big downfall of Sagon is that she is a single target character in terms of, like, she is not shielding anybody else. She's not specifically protecting her allies. She draws aggro to herself, and Esau has the chance to do that. Like, he has an increased chance to do that. Same with Kaiju number 8. But she has a definitive, you are going to hit me if you throw a single target out there. And when you hit me, I am going to counter hit you. And when you get counter hit, I will probably place a bleed or a burn on you, And that's just how she works, right? And so if enemies, which is pretty common as you get through, start doing multi-hit or AoE type moves, she is exposed. She's exposed because she can't defend her allies. She'll still take that hit. She'll still do everything she wants to do, but she can't protect her allies specifically. And so what happens from there? You have a utility monster, right? Because outside of that very specific, hyper-specific scenario, she does everything Esau does, except she's got most of the stuff Esau wants directly into her kit and not reliant on duplicates, right? Like, Esau has stuff that's in dupes that she has directly in her kit. And then aside from that, she's dual. Being blunt and fire is massive. I've said repeatedly, I think Esau should have been blunt and lightning. I'm surprised Kikaru with the weapon is not also blunt lightning. But having that is so much coverage, right? And she's also got an AoE move, so she can potentially plate break a lot of enemies with her ultimate. Her ultimate is very strong, certainly with the first dupe, supplying attack and critical, while giving herself, I believe, defense. So anyway, that's in there too. But there's so much coverage, because with that, you can break a blunt plate, a fire plate, you can break the purple elemental plate, you can break the gray universal physical type plate. Like, she's got a lot of coverage, right? So with that, I think she's the better character to be prioritizing and using, right? But again, Esau is no slouch, but that's just my whole thing. And the only reason I would use Esau is for the damage dealt bonus, which again is really strong. Or if I needed to have a blunt character on both teams, maybe I would pick Esau over Kaiju number 8. That's kind of how that would look like. But otherwise, it's Sagon all day, because of what she can do. And the one thing Esau, again, does better than her is a specific trait of protecting allies, right? But everything else, I think she does better. And she's even a better damage dealer. Neither is a pure damage dealer, but she's a better one. Ashiro, a top 3 supporter in the game. I will put her in A tier simply because I'm going to reserve the best supporter, who you already know, as the S tier one, but extremely strong. Her damage dealt bonus is extremely powerful. She combos that with an attack increase. Really, really useful. Kikaru. I like this Kikaru a lot. It feels dirty putting her in B. So this is another case of, if you have another character that does the same thing, why would you use Kikaru? Gen. She's Gen light, which is funny. Makes sense. if she was dual, like Gen is, she would be Gen. Except maybe better. I don't know, debatable because of the ultimate being single target, potentially doing more damage there, but Gen does, you know, the adjacent blast attack, so debatable. But she's not. And so if you're faced with the opportunity and you have to choose between the two, assuming that you've got their weapons and all that stuff, of course, all the other little things aside, you would choose Gen pretty much always, right? And so that's where she's hampered. But I do think she's powerful. I think she can hit really hard. I think her defense down is okay. It's not the best debuff. It's not as good as you would think it is. She's kind of floating between A and B for me, and maybe she falls, but that's only because I want it to be kind of like selective, I guess. I don't know. Rio. So Rio, with the 6th dupe, which is quite far, of course, is quite powerful. Other than that, he's just all right. He offers an attack increase. He offers 2 of them, a 20% one and then a 10% one that is for 2 turns. That's particularly useful with Chester because you can amp Chester so like Rio's attack increase goes to the allies. You can amp Chester, then Chester can further push more of a higher attack increase. So Rio, in calculations, because of the enemy's defense bonuses, his attack increase, the 30% he provides, was getting neutered down to like 17.6, I believe, in actual calculations, because attack gets offset by the enemy's defense, which is why damage dealt, it's not impacted by that at all, right? And so unless you supply a super high number of attack, again, 17% isn't that much, like Chester, who's applying like 900 plus, depending on your setup, then you can offset that. But with the 6th dupe, he also applies damage dealt by 10%, helps to really get him up there. He's good in between there. He's got the speed stuff on the ultimate, but you're not really using him so much, aside from just trying to really amp your character's attack, damage dealt, and speed. There's no other reason to use him. He's also a tick slow because you do need to get to that ultimate and you need to prioritize his combat skill to really get there quickly, and you may have a better character you want to use that with, but I digress. Suited, not in the game yet. Ashiro, B tier. Some of that's just because if I needed a single target DPS, again, Soshiro, I'm taking Soshiro 10. It's not close. I also may consider Kaiju number 8. That's why too. Like it's purely because of suppression. She almost doesn't have a choice. But I kind of feel bad putting Kikaru in A. Like if I'm putting Ashiro in B, I kind of feel bad putting Kikaru in A. But the adjacent hits is strong. Like I kind of I don't know. Maybe I'll move it. Ashiro, I've said this many times. She's clunky. Several of these characters are actually clunky in their design choice. Like, you have to hit certain specific things. And with her, there's a very big thing where she gets that extra crit rate, but she's not able to really combo that with the ultimate unless she's getting consistent follow-up hits. That's one thing that could really help her get there in time. Or she's got, like, a buffer, like a Kari Minase, increasing her ultimate charge rate. Otherwise, she's going to more often than not, unless you're being very mindful, get to her ultimate, or get to her full stacks, certainly with that extra dupe in there, or that effect in there, right, where she starts with 1 stack. That doesn't help. That does not help whatsoever. She's going to get to that and not have the ability to use it at the same time. Now, the good news is, with her 100%, she actually, let's go back to the game so I can show this. She actually can use the full effect of that for the duration of the turn. So, like, follow-ups, things like that. She will have that crit rate on there, which is nice. It's useful. Certainly, right? It is certainly useful. But I think that she's just clunky overall in design choice. And again, if you're able to get that 100% at the right time, then you're good. Now, she's the only character that's a 5-star that's not built in my account. And the reason why is because I already did a showcase for her with the game's resources at level 100. So I didn't really bother. I wasn't in a huge rush. Eventually, she will get brought up as well. But that was why. Because I already knew what to expect because I already did a showcase for her. Anyway. But yeah, I don't think that this effect in here is particularly useful. This starting with 1 stack is low-key bad. It's low-key bad because it throws off the count. Without that, she may get where she wants in time. In fact, I need to test her before I put that on her just to see. But it does make her a little bit clunky. But again, I will digress that she is powerful. She can hit really hard. But like I said in the beginning, go back to the beginning of the video where I said, all these characters are good. Like they are all good. So anyway, let's get back to the tier list, but Ashiro B tier. I may, like I said, mess around and move Kikaru down. I'm not so sure. Rin. I almost feel bad putting Rin anywhere but A tier. Or S tier, I mean. You know what? Let's shoot the middle. Let's shoot the gap here. I was going to put her in B, but I feel bad putting her anywhere below S. Or best, frankly. So the funny thing about this is that technically, Ashiro, the B tier one, should really excel in like the giant kaiju boss battle, right? But because of her clunky nature, it holds her back. And then aside from that, like I said, you could just Soshiro 10, right? But the thing about Rin is that she is the best character in a specific game mode that exists now and will consistently get updated, Large Conquest. There's no way around it. Nobody else comes close to her. Not Soshiro, the 5-star old one. Not Kikaru, whichever one you want to talk. Nobody. Gen, Reno, nobody comes close to her. And the reason why is because she does 3 AoE attacks. Nobody else is doing 3 AoE attacks that are all going to be crits, and she's also going to have all of her amps because there's always going to be more than 3 enemies. She's just a ridiculous character in that content. She is specifically designed to work there. And so if that was the tier list, frankly, the rest of this list looks very different. Maybe. Some of this stuff looks different anyway. But she would absolutely be in the best. But outside of that specific scenario, she's not great. It just is what it is. Because you need a very specific setup for that. And so I think naturally she's a B tier character, but because she excels so much, I'm shooting the middle. But you could take from that what you will. I think naturally she's nothing great, but she is so damn good in that other content. I kind of just gave her a little bit of a bump because of that, and I'll be honest to that. Chester, best support in the game. I already explained why. Supplies, firstly, if you got the first dupe, you're really cooking. I'm a little skeptical on the second dupe. I kind of want to see what it looks like because the penetrations can't crit. I don't know how that works with pen rate up, which is what he provides. But I really don't like that on the new Kikaru. I've talked about that a lot. I really don't like it, actually. I think it's a nerf. Not really, but I think it's like almost a nerf, and I'll explain why when we get to her. But him pushing out a humongous, like a nearly 1,000 attack is massive because these characters don't have tens of thousands of attack. They've got, I don't know, 3,000 attack on a good day, 4,000, 5,000 maybe with all the buffs. Like they don't like, I don't think anybody, actually I think Rin may be the highest attack stat in my account at like nearly 3,000, like 2,900. They don't have massive numbers. So if you can push a flat 900 that then gets amped by the other percentage bonuses and stuff like that from other characters, that is massive. And then also that he does more things than that, but that's the most relevant thing in his kit. But the action order increases and all that stuff. Very, very, very strong character. Akari Minase, B tier. Don't think you need her at all. Her ult charge rate is good. She also can revive allies if you need that. But like I said, back to Esau, you just don't need that. Reno going to C tier, not a character you should be building. But again, the other characters that are here that are 4 stars are solid too. You can use them effectively if you want. This Kikaru is going into A tier. Like I said, penetration I don't love because she can't crit, and the damage cap is higher on the crits. She would have done so much more consistent good damage if she had the ability to do that on her ultimate, which she throws her ultimate. She's the best ultimate spammer in the game. She throws her ultimate repeatedly, and it's really nice, frankly. And then you also get to throw the defense downs. You can put multiple defense downs on the enemies. The defense downs don't amount to too much overall. I talked about the value of attack increases. The value of defense decreases is roughly the same, or percentage-based attack increases specifically. But the value of defense down is also relatively the same. I mean, her ultimate defense down debuff was applying like a 5% damage increase, which is, I mean, like, it's laughable compared to Ashiro, the 4-star one, supplying like a 60% increase with her encouragement or whatever. Like, it's her morale boost, like, it's not even in the same stratosphere. Now, one thing that is true is that you want to try to stack multiple different types of buffs, attack increase, damage dealt, crit damage up. Like, you want to, and defense down is technically in that mix, but there's only so many spaces on your team. So anyway, I think that because she can't crit, her damage is held back. Her overall ceiling is held back. And so I've shifted her away from the armored set, which is her best for her own individual damage output. Since she's not really going to crit, well, she can crit on some of her stuff, but she's not really going to crit on the ultimate, which is her most consistently used move. I guess unless you want to prioritize her blast attack, which maybe there's a character on your team you'd rather use the combat skill for. I digress. I've shifted her to Ant, the one that increases effect hit rate. So she's going to land those defense downs more consistently and just be a better sub DPS, which is where I think she really shines. Kafka's good, defense down, transformation, AoE, full action order on the transformation, very solid character. Reno is an S tier character, tons of utility, great damage output. The freeze, also adjacent on the ultimate, very, very strong. KG and AG, two characters that you could effectively use. There's an AoE in there, there's a stun in there, there's a poison in there. Between those characters, there's a blunt, actually dual trait, blunt and shot, pretty strong on KG, I believe. Or maybe that's AG, I don't know. The younger one. You could effectively use him if you want to. You could use anybody, really, like I pointed out. I've used several of these 4 stars. But I can't, in good faith, put them any higher just because I don't think they're characters you should be prioritizing. Kota is no different. And part of the reason why Kafka gets a bump is because he is also a free max ascension. That matters. And then Minase gets a bump too because she is the only healer in the game, if that wasn't clear. So if you find yourself needing the healer, even though I'd say you don't need it, if you need it for a moment because your character's under-leveled, she's the only one that can supply that to you. 5-star Hoshina, B tier. He's solid in the new event, not great. I think the other characters, and really, like I said, Rin should be B tier too. She's the only one, she's only getting an amp. She's the only character on this list getting an amp because she's the single best character in that content. And I can't stress that enough. There's no one close. It's not him. I saw someone asking about it. It's not him. He has an AoE blast attack. That is good, right? He's got that crit stuff. That's nice. Crit rate, crit damage, blah, blah, blah. I think that in that conquest mode, him doing a single target ultimate holds him back. Because if he was an AoE ultimator or an AoE follow-upper like Rin is, all of a sudden you'd have 2 characters that run that mode like crazy. And he would actually be on her tier. But otherwise, I could argue you're better off using a character like Gen instead of this Hoshina because of the consistent output of multi-hit moves. Now, you ultimately need 2 teams, so do from that what you will. Maybe you run him on with the top row with Rin and then go from there, and then blast attackers in the second team. You could do that too, but that's not really how tier lists work. But I will say to his credit, though, the single target ultimate is going to hit harder than her individual ultimate move would when compared to Rin in content that's just like a big boss or something. Like he'll output better there. I don't care so much about his miniature kaiju stuff. Like he's good because of that too in the conquest mode, but that's not really going to be like a huge selling point. Iharu is he's just kind of okay. Like he's got an effect hit rate bonus. He seems like he's made for a character that doesn't exist yet with a lightning support type stuff he has going on, but he is dual traded as well. He's got some fun stuff in there. Could be useful. Really, I could move these dual traded. You know what? This is what I'll do. I'll move the dual traders up because like I said earlier, certainly if it's also a weapon and an element. So like Gen has 2 weapon types, but not an element. But if it's got both, there's a lot of coverage because you can break that shot. You can break the element that you're listed as. You could do a lot. I mean, AG, maybe I could pull him down because he doesn't actually have an element on there. That's blunt. So there's an overlap there with the physical plate. He can't break an elemental plate. So I'll bring him back down, but I'll put the other 2 up just because of the coverage. Haruichi, right? He's nothing great. He's got some stuff in there, buff clears and stuff. Just not really. You just don't need that stuff. You just do not need that stuff. Like there was a time where I thought maybe I would use him for Spec Ops 4 or something. Like you just don't need it. Tay, a character I built, dual element, has, by the way, a lot of these characters have like damage over time, lightning based, fire based, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff's cute. You don't need it. My level 100 Tay was doing, in her optimal scenario, because it scales off her attack, she was doing like 10k, I believe. Go back to the showcase for her. 10k burn damage. You don't. Why would you use that? Seriously, why? For what reason? If you need chip damage, I didn't bring this up. Chester and Reno both make your team do more damage with their passives. Shot damage and ice damage. Like you could get extra chip damage there. It's not 10k in most cases, but you don't need that. Because is her damage enough individually, aside from that 10k, right? You can factor the 10k, but is she doing enough cumulative damage to offset the fact that you're probably better off using a better character? Is she making up the gap? No. So, there you go. I forget this dude's name. Aoi, right? It's something like that. He's got dual, so I'll praise him there, but he's nothing great. Another guy that has he's got the wind damage over time. Hello, best character in the game. Yeah, best character in the game. Don't really need to explain that. Just the best character in the game. Kikaru. I'll never forget. Somebody told me that she is better than the other Kikaru, and this was pre new Kikaru, so better than the old 5-star. And she did more damage. I haven't been able to. One day I'll build her and I'll see. but until then, I'm gonna place her there. So maybe I'm sleeping on her. But I do like this overall. I mean, if you wanted to make it a little bit more selective, like I said, Rin can go down to B. She was amped because she's the best character in her mode. If I did a whole tier list for that mode, it would look different. I value the supports. I place the supports high. Some people don't do that. Even the best 4-star supports would be below 5-star characters on a lot of other tier lists. I try to keep this pretty selective. So what you have is you have the best single character in the game. You've got the best plate breaker in the game in Gen. You've got one of the best coverage characters in the game. You've got flat out the two best coverage characters in the game right there, and the best support. The best coverages are with Sagon and with Reno, because they've got an element and a physical, but they're also hyper strong. You know, those traits are present in those B rank characters too, but they're hyper strong characters. so that's the difference, right? So that's why they are also there too. They've got a lot of utility. They do a lot of things. They're just better than the 4-star characters that do similar stuff elementally. And then Chester, just the best supporter in the game, so he's there too. Then you got the second, third, and fourth best supporters in the A rank. The next best single target DPS in Kaiju number 8, in my opinion. You can maybe argue Ashiro, in which case, if you pushed Ashiro to A, I would push Kaiju number 8 down to B, for the record. I wouldn't put them both in the same tier because of the way that my list works. Like I said in the beginning, why would you use a character that is better at a certain something than another character that's ranked higher? I would just push them down further on the list. I wouldn't put them both on the same tier list, and I'm not trying to make everyone happy, because that would be the case for that. Esau suppressed a little bit because Sagon, but he's the second, or I guess he's technically the best team defender in the game. He is the best at that. Like, Sagon is not as good as him at that, but Sagon has more utility, does other things around the perimeter than he does, without dupes, certainly. But if you factor dupes, obviously that changes. Sagon becomes a little bit more of like a, I don't know, damage dealer type. But, you know, I talked about damage over time. I've got to admit also, Sagon's burn damage is lower than Tay's. She's not as good at it, but she has so many more opportunities to place it out there, and she's less clunky with it, so that's kind of the trade-off there. But Tay is a far better burn damage dealer. Like, she was doing like 5 times as much burn damage as Sagon was doing. Like, it wasn't really close. So that's not really a huge selling point, because regardless, Sagon doesn't really do a ton of damage. It's just the other, extra stuff she's doing. And then you've got Kikaru there, who you could maybe slide down to B. Like, I brought that up earlier. She's kind of just hiding there. I will slide her down to B. I'll slide her down to B. Because now, with the other Kikaru here, I think I have to suppress her a little bit more, because they function similarly. They're both trying to do these blast attack adjacent hits and get going, but the new Kikaru doesn't need to build up. So she, for the record, she starts off with an ultimate. I talked about how I don't love the ultimate not being able to crit, but she's throwing an ultimate every other turn, because when she uses an ultimate, she gets the faster charge. She's good. She's just not great. That's what it is. She's good. She's just not great. So I would still prioritize Gen over her, but her benefit is that she is a blunt character. There's still not very many of those, like a handful of them. And she's a blunt AoE, or not AoE, but blast attacker, so she can hit adjacents. So that is a strength. That is a strength. So I think she's warranted there. And then the 4-stars, like I said, they're mostly amped a slot up because of the utility. The only one that's not getting that is the one with kind of overlapping stuff with Kaiju, or whichever one that is. The old guy in C rank, he has poison, which is inherently different than the other damage over times, like wind damage or fire damage. It scales off the enemy, but they cap it. They capped it at the enemy's at a percentage of his own attack still. If they didn't do that, he would probably be an S tier character. Seriously, he probably would be an S tier character. So they cap it. Reno is just another DPS character, but there's a dozen of those. Seriously, a dozen other ones. Why would you use Reno? Kafka has multiple traits. He's a blunt. He's a shot character. Got defense down. Got an AOE. I have a burp. Excuse me. An AOE. A bunch of stuff in there that you could use. Akari Minase, charge rate up. Team revive if you need that, but you shouldn't need it. She has a heal, but you shouldn't need it. She is the only healer in the game, which does have to have some merit. Ashiro, I explained, single target DPS. If I'm moving her up, it's to move Kaiju down. I'm not putting them both on the same tier, just due to the way that, again, my tier list is made. And I think she's clunky. I don't love that. Soshiro 10, or Soshiro just normal, excuse me. I don't, frankly, I don't think he's all that. Frankly, I don't. I don't. So do with that what you will. I'm not going to try to explain that one away. I just don't think he's all that. And that's with the context that, again, every character can be useful. I just don't think he's all that. Kikaru I moved down because the other Kikaru, and also because Gen. Rin, I'll just do that. Somebody's going to click to the end of the video and be like, what the fuck is going on with that? It's like a troll, but it's also not. It's vindicating too, because he was always a B tier character every time I did one of these, because she's just not great outside of that specific content, but she is so overwhelmingly good there that it's funny. But I can't do that because, like I said, I would have to move Soshiro up from B. I don't think he's a B tier character there. I don't think he's great in general, but I don't think he's a B tier character in that large conquest mode. He's probably A plus. So, all right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It wanted to be a goddamn 30-minute video. I didn't want to do a 30-minute video. All right, hopefully you enjoyed. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and if you haven't already, make sure you check this out. It does help me out tremendously. And here we go really quick before we go. Download and get started today on a brand new account for Raid Shadow Legends using my code down below in the description. It'll help me out tremendously, and I greatly appreciate it. And when you do, you'll get access to Elenaril the Legendary at the sign up. You'll also get Uugo, an Epic champion at level 10, Lightsworn, another Epic at level 20, and Tagore, an Epic at level 30. You also can use Desert Queen to unlock the legendary two-hander rock. Get started today and get over $200 worth of free goodies, and it helps me out again tremendously, so I greatly appreciate it. All right, so I've got to say that I'm sure you've seen ads before. That's not the goal of that. It helps me tremendously if you guys start. And I actually, with my link in the description, I actually have a long-term partnership with them. You've probably not really seen any gameplay because you've only seen ads. But it is a fun game, and I play it a lot, almost as much as I'm playing Kaiju. Believe it or not, I'm not BSing. I'm not capping. I mean, you don't have to really play Kaiju too much, so I'm actually playing it more than Kaiju these days because I just kind of log in and log back out unless I'm recording a video, or But anyway, it is seriously a game that I'm playing and trying out. So make sure you do check it out. I would appreciate it big time. I'll see you in the next video.